You're listening to the Gutsy Podcast, where we talk about all things real, raw, and ridiculous about running a business authentically. I'm Laura Wallace, also known as the Laura Aura, lover of all things inspirational, owner of Works Graphic Design, and your host on this journey through entrepreneurship. I'm here to help you get out of your head and back into action as a passionate business rock star. Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday as we fuel your gutsy. The idea of passive income, multiple sums of money. I mean, waking up every day to see on your phone like, oh, I've made a bunch of money overnight. It seems like such a foreign concept, yet so appealing. Today, I have a real life human freaking rock star here that lives this life, and she's going to talk to us. So today I have Kimberly. She's been studying wealth, health, and financial empowerment for over a decade. And she's come to one conclusion: sums of money over streams of money every day. She owns a growing portfolio of rental properties. She's also building a social media-driven health and wellness business. And she flips houses with her husband. In December of 2018, she kicked her six-figure corporate job to the curb. Hello, can I get an amen on that? And she is here with us today to talk about creating cash flow and building abundance. Kimberly, welcome to the Gutsy Podcast.
Hello, Laura. Thank you very much for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
I'm so excited to have you on. So you and I met by accident at a SaaS Magazine event in Frederick, Maryland.
Yes, by fortune, of course.
Yes, by fortune, absolutely. We clicked, we got talking, and here we are. So give us a little bit of the backstory. What has led you to where you are today in life?
Well, I think that we are all born with natural gifts and talents. Some things we're better at, some things we are less strong in, but one of my natural inclinations and strengths is optimism, just constant optimism. And I was fortunate to be born here in the US, where we just have a really large economy. And so whether or not it's true, I have always, I don't know about since I was a baby, but as far as back as I can remember, when I see people that are achieving some area of success, it could be fitness, it could be wealth, it could be lifestyle, it could be whatever, then I will just do some kind of background research about that person, just basic stuff, even just reading Wikipedia, and I'll say, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. You know, and so that doesn't mean that I totally want to recreate everything that everyone has, of course, but I've always been looking around and so excited about the opportunities available to all of us. And I have always had that optimism within myself, and that I hope to share with others that if it's been done, if it can be done, then I can do it too. And to be honest, the flip side of that, something I've been working on the last few years, is that instead of just focusing on if it's been done before I can do it, and rather just saying, okay, forget what has been done and what I think the rules are blank slate. What do I want to achieve? The sky's the limit, and just being more creative and thinking even bigger.
I love that. I love that mindset mentality, because I think that sometimes we look at people that we idolize and think, oh, they've achieved that. That's incredible, but that's not for me. I could never do that. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you have the mentality of, I'm a human being. Why couldn't I achieve something of that magnitude? That's, I think, honestly, one of the biggest hurdles for people to overcome.
For sure. Agreed. So much of it is mind game. And I mean, especially as a parent now, once I had kids, I learned so much that the cliches, you start repeating the cliches and meaning every single word of it. I mean, you have a son, right? And so I know you can relate to me on that. But similarly, just in general, it starts so much in your mental game, and it starts from within, and your inner world creates your outer world, all that stuff. It's true. And you just got to keep going.
So true. So take me back to late 2017, early 2018. You're a corporate gal. You're making some big bucks, got a big promotion. So tell me a little bit about that era of your life.
Sure. Well, so my job was in real estate development. I knew that long term we wanted to build wealth. And so for me, a big piece of that pie was real estate. And so whenever I'm doing anything, I want it to kind of serve multiple areas. So when I was working, I worked in real estate development. And, because I'm passionate about real estate, and I knew in that role, not only could I serve my employer and the community we were trying to serve, but also I would learn from it. And so, with that passion and just kind of the go-getterness, then I was able to negotiate a promotion and a raise. And I mean, all this great stuff. I even doubled my income. Talk about breaking through limiting beliefs. I mean, I did not even think I could sit in that room, look my boss in the eye, and double my income. And you know what? I did it. So if you're even thinking about that, the next time anyone asks for a raise, I hope it hasn't been too long since you went back in and asked for a raise. If you work for someone, if it has, go back in there and get it and make yourself shake in your boots. That's what I would say about asking for raises. But anyways, so this all happened. I got the promotion. I got the raise. That was October, November of 2017. And at that time, I was also like 7 months pregnant. So, I mean, it was very generous on behalf of the employer well, maybe it wasn't generous, like it was what it was, but that all happened shortly before I was going to go out on maternity leave. And also August of that same year, so just a few months before, we bought a house that, was a pretty expensive house. And already it needed, 6 figures worth of renovations that, of course, that's all paid in cash. And it was a huge, huge job. And my husband's a contractor, but nonetheless, moving already is a pretty big stressor. Moving to a home that you need to renovate, that's kind of a big deal. And we were working on some flips. As you mentioned earlier, we do flips. And the flips we had at the time were kind of hard. There's some structural issues. So we had all that on a plate and a baby coming. And then, I got this raise and promotion, and I was going to absolutely show my employer that he made the right decision, and I was going to perform in this role, and it was going to be great. And we were working hard, and it was just, we pushed too hard and basically kind of broke. I mean, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I'm not a corporate person, and I always kind of knew that. But a corporate environment is not for me. But nonetheless, with everything going on, the stress level was just unbelievable. And so at the very end of my pregnancy, I experienced some health issues, and so had the baby in December. And then in January, I had surgery. In March, I had surgery. In April, I had surgery. And of course, these surgeries were accompanied by several days in the hospital where there's a newborn at home, and our 3-year-old was at home, and we're still finalizing renovations. And this job, I mean, even with the stress of my job and this focus on performing, like I had my boss when he was in town come meet me in the hospital because I had some updates to give him, and it was just ridiculous.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. I feel like we all need to take a deep breath. Like that's intense. Updates from the hospital. That's
oh my gosh.
That's a level of personal. Was that an expectation that you set on yourself, or that someone else set on you, or a combination?
That was something that I really pushed to myself. I successfully negotiated a huge raise, multiple 6 figures. I got this big promotion. It was it was a cool job. It was a coveted job, all that good stuff. So I was going to perform no matter what. But then, with everything going on, it just took a huge toll on my relationship with my husband. I was in and out of the hospital, something that I had never dealt with. And so it was just a real wake-up call of, wait a minute, what are my priorities? Where am I spending my time? Do I really need to be this stressed out? And the answer is no. It doesn't matter what you want to achieve. I mean, if you want to be president of the United States, okay, that job's going to be stressful. Fine. However, I think people can achieve 98% of any day-to-day that they want to, and they don't have to live a massively stressed out life. They don't. You can build your dream life, and it doesn't have to include massive amounts of stress. So finally, I just decided that it was time to quit that job. But the whole dealing with health issues, knock on wood, I have never had that before. I go to the doctor says, oh yeah, you're fine. Or, oh, take this antibiotic for 10 days. And that's it. Like, it's just always fine. So going to the doctor and then saying, oh, we got to bring you back in for a biopsy. Oh, we got to bring you back in for an ultrasound. Oh, we're going to have to operate as soon as we can. And, that kind of thing. I never dealt with that. And so that was an emotional roller coaster for me that was just very intense. But nonetheless, it just reminded me, wait a minute. First and foremost, I feel so strongly about being proactive about your money and income streams and day-to-day and all that. And it was a wake up that I need to be proactive about my health. I need to be proactive about my health. I need to, be open-minded. I need to try different things, focus on what works, and do that on a regular basis. So, I was do you know Brian Cristiano? Have you heard of that name?
I have not.
He calls himself the bold CEO, and he's a coach for athletes and celebrities and stuff like that, personal development. And one exercise that he did at a workshop of his that I attended was, if you had the level of wealth that you have in your dream life or dream world, what does that day-to-day look like? What is something you would do if you had everything that you are pursuing that you're not doing right now? And for me, I would work out every day. I'm not saying I would, I'd be buff and competitive and I work out for 3 hours, but, somewhere between 15 minutes to, an hour and a half, something. I would do something that's like focused working out every single day. And what he said was, whatever that is for you, you need to be doing that right now. Like, that's your first step into creating whatever dream reality you have in your mind. It's not a dream, it can be a reality. And I think of it like kind of cart and horse thing. Like, on the one hand, you have to be training the horse, you have to be creating your luck and setting yourself up for success. But on the other hand, to get your horse to start galloping the way you want it to, sometimes you got to put the cart halfway in front of the horse, kind of jump off the cliff so that then that your wings are going to start flapping. So I hope that makes sense. But
it's great. And I love that, we work with lots of amazing professional developers and consultants and coaches and things. And it's really all about living the life or putting things in place that tell the world and the universe that you are ready to receive what you actually are working towards. So I love the concept of do something every day that you will be doing when you have, all the things that you're striving for in place, but start doing it now. Like, why do we have to wait until we get those things to reward and take care of ourselves or do something meaningful for ourselves now?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So you mentioned something earlier that I want to kind of come back to, and that's you can build your dream life without massive amounts of stress. And I think that that's going to be really appealing because, especially as an entrepreneur, I feel like that naturally comes along with a special kind of stress that unless you live the life or are familiar with it or know someone that runs a business, it's really hard to put into words. So I'm curious how what kind of either balance or tactics, or how does that look for you to be now self-employed and not have copious amounts of stress, but actually to be living less stressful than when you were in your corporate gig?
Well, I would say creating your ideal day-to-day, your ideal lifestyle, and not creating a life that's just an overwhelming level of stress and a constant race is really two parts. And one is, how are you putting all of those puzzle pieces together? How are you building that empire of yours? And then two, how are you relating to it? Mm. So on the one hand, like I mentioned earlier, synergy. Years ago on the Food Network, I saw an Alton Brown episode, and he said, it's so easy to just blow your kitchen out with gadgets, all day, every day. You can buy more and more gadgets for your kitchen. So his rule of thumb to make sure that his kitchen is curated and edited and effective is that everything in his kitchen has to be multi-purpose. He doesn't buy any single-purpose kitchen tools. And I apply that same thing to everything in my life. It has to be beneficial to multiple areas. So like we talked about exercise, obviously it's beneficial to my mental health. It's beneficial to my physical health. That increases my energy. And then I can apply that to all the other activities I want to do. Also real estate. So earlier today, I was meeting with the county executive of Frederick County because I am the chairperson of the Affordable Housing Council for Frederick County. And that's about creating affordable housing opportunities and influencing policy and representing our Frederick County citizens focused on, affordable housing. And so not only is that community service, but it's real estate related. And so I am always networking with practitioners of real estate in my local community. I am always learning more about real estate and serving a population or my community in general to make it as good as it can be. But that also relates into my for-profit activities, which is real estate and also an online business, because I'm out there, I'm talking to people, always networking. And again, just constantly re-hitting that theme of real estate, real estate, real estate, and people, people, people. So that's one, is how are you building? What activities, what does your day-to-day look like, and how does each one of your activities solve multiple areas of your life, looking for that synergy. So that's one to kind of maintain a not overwhelming stress level, because if you have a bazillion activities and each activity is a silo among itself, you're always just going to have a million things to do, where you should always be, killing multiple birds with one stone.
That's so true.
Yeah, right? And then the other thing is, how are you relating to that stress? Because even if you're always focused on synergy and have the most efficient and efficacious day-to-day that ever existed, if you do not intentionally and mindfully manage your own emotions and how you respond to situations, then any situation will be stressful. I mean, if you're going to be successful, then you will be busy, relatively speaking. But you don't have to, it doesn't have to be chaos. How do you relate to it? Like something that I heard not long ago that I just love. I was listening to another podcast and someone was sharing the best advice he'd ever received from one of his mentors. And the advice was, every day is business as normal. And so it doesn't matter what is happening. It doesn't matter. Business is normal. Business is normal. It could be the best day ever for revenue. Awesome. Business is normal. And you should celebrate that, of course. Or it could be this insane, who knows what, your profile, your Facebook profile got erased and you lost all of your followers and friends. Or a deal fell apart, your financing fell through, or who the heck knows what. Business is normal. It's just something to be dealt with and move on. Business is normal. So that's the other part, is knowing how to relate to all the craziness that is going on, is convincing yourself, but that's okay. It's just business as normal.
I think that's such an important, it's so simple, right? So simple, but I think one of the easiest things to forget about, because when those heightened things happen, good, bad, or in between, we naturally, our emotions go along with that, right? So if you had a crappy meeting or something fell through that you were really looking forward to. There's a quote that floats around the internet sometimes. It's like, did you have a bad 5 minutes? And are you making that now your bad day? So how are you relating your emotions to what's actually happening?
Absolutely.
So just just dealing with it and moving on. Like it's such a crazy simple concept, but it's obtainable. And I think that's sometimes what we forget, is that we actually have more choices than we allow ourselves to make.
Amen. That's for sure. Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. So speaking of sky's the limit, you are producing some really fascinating things. So you've got your health and wellness, empowerment and motivation. You've got the real estate investments. So I was watching one of your Instagram or Facebook lives the other week, and you're talking about like you woke up the next morning and you had made money. So I think what a lot of people are interested in is how in the hell did you create multiple streams of income that have now created financial abundance in your life? And also you're way less stressed.
Well, I think that so life is a journey and there are chapters to life. And so on the one hand, I just started saying yes to more things. I mean, there's a few essential tenets that I believe, and I think in any given situation, you can, well, I don't think this is a fact. You can never know all the information and make the absolute correct decision. That isn't a thing. You can do as much as you can to know a reasonable amount, and then you just move forward. And so one of the ways that I have always been focused on doing that is by keeping mentors around me. And so then people that I meet that are, again, successful, and it doesn't mean that they're the, ideal person that I ever met but in a particular area, they are successful in something that an area that I want to improve in. And so, and I keep those people close, and I try to meet with them regularly. And also, especially people that are more established, a lot of people that have a lot of experience, they're happy to share. If someone reaches out with an open mind and an open heart and says, look, this is what I want to do, and I'm so ambitious, and these are my questions. What do you think? What would you do? People love giving advice. And it's awesome because you just absorbing their thought process, not only their experience, but how are they thinking through things is so helpful. So all of that is to say, a few years ago, it started when, my husband and I was interested in real estate. And so there came a time when we were asking ourselves whether or not I should get my realtor's license. It seemed like a good idea, but it's like, there are so many realtors. I mean, does it really make sense for me to get a license? There's so many, like, should I get one? And his answer was, yeah, it's just another tool you'll have in your tool belt that you can put to use when the time is right. And it immediately paid for itself. Just that first year, having my realtor's license, I helped out a few friends. And of course, we had access to the information ourselves, which allowed us to do our own business better. That was so helpful for us. But just because I had my license, I was able to help out some friends and made an additional $45,000, right? Totally unexpected. But I created that luck. I said yes. And I said, okay, I'll give it a try. I think, including myself, people get stuck on a fear that if you make a decision, that's it and you're committed forever. And other than children, I want to say marriage too, but we know people get divorced all the time. But other than really children, so few decisions are forever decisions. They're just not. So try something. And if it doesn't work out, you can try something else. But say yes, say yes, say yes. And then also, though, once you're cruising, once you're busy, once you're focused and kind of in a certain spot, there will be a chapter, a time. Because when did I do this? Was this 2017? I don't know. I had a year of no. I'm young. I like to be involved in nonprofits. I'm increasingly starting to feel guilty when I say I'm young. I'm not as young as I used to be. However, I'm still young. We're going to go with that.
Absolutely.
Right. But being so involved in the community, you can get asked and invited to do tons of stuff, be on this board and be on this committee and da-da-da-da-da. And so sometimes it also makes sense where you have to say, no, I'm getting focused. I'm getting these things off the ground. And now I'm in a phase where I'm saying no. So I had a year of no, where just to most things, if it wasn't directly within my scope, I would say no. So, but it depends kind of where you are on your journey. If you need to get stuff off the ground, if you want to get started, if you don't know where to start, you have to just start saying yes. Say yes, say yes, say yes. And things will start to happen. You'll learn what is more productive for you and what is less productive, and then you'll learn where to focus. And then once you're focusing, you'll know when there will be that period. They're like, okay, I'm focusing. I don't have, my time is valuable. I have to say no, no, no. And then you'll get to the next phase of where you need to just start saying yes, yes, yes again. So,
I love that. That's such a great concept too, because I think sometimes, we always talk about the power of no and how no is a complete sentence. But to find out what to say yes and no to, it's really just a testing period, right? So I too went through a period where I was on every board, committee, and organization, in the tri-state area. It felt like, and I learned a lot of really valuable things from that. And I also realized that that's not really my thing, and that I didn't have to continue doing that. So unless it's a hell yes for me, it's a no. So I just really like that that you said yes for a while, and then you scale back and you look at it and evaluate it, and then you can start saying no. And like you mentioned earlier, I think it's so much like, oh, if I say yes to all these things, then that's my forever. I have to be on these boards forever. I can never quit this committee. I can never stop going to this meeting.
Right.
It's really not the case. It's just really hallucinated urgency within our own minds.
Right. And I think, when people feel like they need to change gears or they need to get whatever it is off the ground and they just don't know how, you just have to start saying yes. Get around the people that are doing something that you want to be doing. Just get in their space. And then as opportunities, whatever it is, presents itself to you, just start saying yes. I mean, that was how I turned my health around. I was at a point where, going back to I guess we were like at the end of the first quarter of 2018, April, March, where I was just in a bad place with all the health stuff and, the strain on our marriage and the new baby. I mean, newborns are freaking tough, people.
Yes, they are.
Oh my God. But I just got to a place where literally I can remember I was at a 4-way stop and I was driving and, I have these beautiful children and I have a wonderful husband, and the home that we bought, it needed work, but it's like, it was an amazing deal. And still I was asking myself, like, is this all there is? And I was totally serious about that question. I was, asking myself, oh my God, like, is this what life is? Like, ugh, and I wasn't interested. And that was a red flag to me. And so to make a change, to change my health, to change my mental health, I needed to say yes, and I started using supplements. I started doing whatever. I tried a bunch of different stuff. And frankly, that was how I found a supplement that I love, has changed my life, has changed my energy level. And, and a few years ago, I would have told you, no. Just be vegan for a while and you'll be fine. And maybe that was true for me for a while, but when it's time to make a change, you've got to put biases aside. Just try some stuff and then do what works for you.
So what advice would you give people then? Because I think sometimes the biggest hang up and what keeps a lot of people stuck is wanting to say yes, but not feeling like they have the courage to put oomph and action behind that. So I know I want to do that, but it scares me or it freaks me out, or I don't know the outcome, and what if I fail, and all those voices that like to talk to us at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
What advice would you get? How do you push through that?
Well, I can tell you that when you are faced with an opportunity or decision and it really scares the pants off of you, then that is a very crystal clear sign that that is what you need to do. That is undoubtedly what you need to do. And the way to work through that is, well, two things. One is, who are you surrounding yourself by? Surround yourself by people that also push themselves. I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're all animals. And so we all revert to the mean. And so what is the mean that you are constantly exposing yourself to? Or I think it's usually attributed to Jim Rohn, is you're the average of the 6 people that you spend the most time with. So get yourself surrounded by people that are taking those action steps regularly, and just whatever you're afraid of, that is absolutely what you need to do. That when I did my first Facebook Live, it took me an hour and a half to push play. I was so nervous, so afraid, so nervous. So just jump in, do it, surround yourself by people that are also jumping and doing it. And another thing, a very tactical, practical exercise that I heard about from Simon Chan, if anyone knows him, is whatever you are most afraid of, take a piece of paper, divide it into 2 columns. On the left-hand side, write down specifically, what are you most afraid of that will happen? And then on the right-hand column, directly across from that, write, what would you do to resolve that situation? And there we will realize that you can work through anything. And there you go.
And just like that,
Yeah.
it's like the keys to the kingdom. Yeah, it's you know, I think where a lot of the hang up and the anxiety and the worry and the overthinking, you know, it's really residing within our own selves.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's perception of what could or could not happen, what people may or may not think. We could talk all day long about perception of other people's thoughts of us. So I love that, you know, one, just who you're surrounding yourself with, but really what's the worst that could happen, and what's the result of that, and how are we going to fix it if it does happen? Like, because sometimes, let's face it does happen, right? Sometimes our worst fears come to life. Sometimes we're faced with an obstacle that we weren't even thinking could be an obstacle, but now all of a sudden here it is. But everyone today has a 100% success rate of overcoming all that shit, right?
Absolutely.
So it's just putting it's really boils down to just giving yourself a little bit more credit than what we actually do.
Yes, so true. I mean, a question that I heard at some workshop was, especially for women, is what are you most proud of other than your children? And I think that last part is like, that's a great kicker for the ladies. And even for me, like just taking a step back and saying, okay, what are the top 3 things that I am most proud of from the last 2 years that are not my children? And then, you know, we'll all impress ourselves. So, another thing that I want to add is, you know, once someone starts achieving success, and something that I continue to work on and that I've had to kind of figure out once we had a bunch of stuff going on, was becoming comfortable with unfinished tasks. And so I first read about this or heard about it from Darren Hardy, where that's another part of when you have a growing business and growing success and you have a lot going on, is that at a certain point you know, especially for all those type A's out there, and I can imagine you can very much relate to this, where every day, especially pre-kids, you know, you could work until forever. You could just never sleep and then just work, and, you know, continually not stopping anything until it's completely finished, and you always got that closure. But life happens. You got to live. You know, sometimes you just have to have fun, or maybe you do have a family. You know, you can't just freaking work all the time. And so part of keeping something going is understanding that sometimes you have to end your quote unquote work day, and there's going to be stuff that's unfinished, and it's okay, and you'll get to it tomorrow, and you just pick it right back up tomorrow. But, you know, leaving stuff unfinished. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know that feeling I'm talking about?
Oh, girl, there have been many of days that I get home and I'm like, you know, it's fine. And then I'm like, oh, what about that? Oh, I didn't send that email. Oh, I forgot I needed to do. Oh, I really wanted to call that person. And then it just starts going and going and going. Mm-hmm. And something that I have found that is helpful for me in that scenario is it's not always easy to just shut it down and off. But if I physically write something down, then I think the worry of forgetting is stronger than the worry of the actual task itself.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If I get it out of my brain and onto paper, then it's okay. It's not going to be forgotten. And tomorrow's a new day. And I remind myself that here at Works, we do branding. We're not saving lives. We're not brain surgeons. Like, no one, like, everything is going to be okay. The world is going to continue to revolve tomorrow if we don't get to X, Y, or Z.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So you've mentioned hubby a couple of times. He's also self-employed. So you guys are both working and hustling together. So tell me a little bit about the dynamics with that and any obstacles that maybe you guys have faced and how you've overcome that.
Well, we are very fortunate that we work well together. We spend a whole lot of time together, and we are very supportive of each other. And I would say something that is a challenge for us is to talk about things other than work.
Yep.
I mean, that's just constantly on the brain, but like we talked about just before getting started here, my husband and I just came with the family, of course, the 2 kids, just came back from Israel. And so his family lives there. It wasn't pure vacation. However, we got out of our home and our office because, even when you're in your own home, when you're in one of those spaces, everywhere you look, you're reminded of the stuff you have to do. Like, oh, there's this. And so, but we were gone for 3 weeks this time. And this is the second time this year that we went to Israel for 3 weeks. And so we were out of our own space. We weren't constantly looking at our to-do lists. And so just doing what we needed to take those mental breaks. And just in general, we always try to say yes to each other. And, as we're growing, the roles have shifted. Like in general, I'm the more analytical. For the real estate, I do underwriting. I do the more structured stuff. And he is really great with people. And he, of course, is a licensed contractor. And a few years ago, before kids, I did more of like the property management, and in addition to the contract structuring and the underwriting and whatnot, I did more of like the tenant management stuff. But then we had kids and, the whole health insanity. And so he has stepped into that role in a big way, and we have delegated more. It's a work in progress, but we are fortunate to be very aligned. And I think we're committed to each other and committed to this journey. So again, speaking of all those cliches, like after the health challenges of 2017 and 18, which was such a chapter for me, that life is a journey. I've come to appreciate that so much. And so just be open to it. And I feel like at any given time we're in the ocean and the waves are coming and you just flow with it. Like you figure out how to surf at any given time. You just figure out how to surf. That's all. The waves are happening. Just get on top of it.
Figure out how to surf.
Yeah.
So many great nuggets today. Yeah. And I love that, business is going to continue to evolve and roll around, right? But if you strip everything back, before the business, before the kids, it was the 2 of you. So ensuring that, if you're in business with a spouse or your spouse is involved in your business in some capacity, to always make sure that you are building in time with that person.
Yes.
And not with the business. Like completely removing as easy as it may sound. It's kind of like when you first go out to dinner after you've had your first kid, and you're like looking at each other like, I've known you for a really long time, but I don't know what else to talk about other than the baby, so that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes business ownership with your spouse is kind of like that same thing, but before all of that, there were 2 of you. Mm-hmm. And it's important to keep back to the roots of the why also.
Yes, intentionally, that's for sure.
Intentionally. So one of the other questions I want to ask you is, you mentioned earlier how that first Facebook Live photo or video took you an hour to hit play. So what if a lot of people are thinking and feeling like, okay, this is all sounding good. I know what I want to work towards. I know, I have a vision, but I don't want to put myself out there. Like, I don't want to be seen. I don't do video well. Like, I don't like any of that stuff. What are some tips that you could share to help overcome some of those being seen obstacles?
Well, I would say I was absolutely the same way before I jumped into social media. And I'm still, there are some people that get out there and literally share every single little teeny weeny weeny itty bitty bitty thing. I'm not like that fully, but before I jumped into and embraced social media, I was hesitant to even like something or, comment for sure. But at the end of the day, every business, again, talking about that synergy, we are all benefited by constantly broadening our audience. That's just how it is. Not just in a way of like, okay, if I talk to this person, then maybe I could make money off of them. Not at all, but by sharing who you are and what you're doing and sharing your story, maybe you help them. And then the same is true. All of us, all day, maybe not all day, but every single day, we're consuming some content online, I would say all of us every day are plugging into social media at some point, and we're benefiting somehow. So like when you talked about how do people move past the things that they're really afraid of or challenging situations. So something that has helped me so much is just reading and studying other entrepreneurs and hearing their stories. And have you ever listened to the podcast, How I Built This with Guy Raz?
Yes.
Oh man. And so to hear some of their stories, you know, I think that whatever the heck we're dealing with is challenging. And then, you know, there was a story with Organic Valley. I'm pretty sure it was Organic Valley, where he was trying to get this off the ground forever. And of course, it cost a lot of money, so much investment. And his mother-in-law was very senior in agriculture in New York, and she had some money. She was one of their investors. And so it was a point where regularly he would have to call her to ask her for more money and more money just to make payroll. And there was one conversation where he was talking to his mother-in-law asking for more money to make payroll, and his wife was on the other line with her own mother telling her mother not to give him any more money.
Wow.
You know? Yeah. So just hearing the things that other entrepreneurs, other successful people, what they have gone through, it's just, I find it so helpful to maintain perspective.
Yeah, it's such an important, I mean, I think that we get, again, caught up in our own brains and think, I'm the only one that's going through this. I'm failing because I'm in a tough spot right now. And it gets really big and really heavy around us very quickly. But it's stories like that that remind us, like, literally all of the greatest companies in this country have been in some form or fashion of this moment that I have. Yes. You know, I'm really no different. Just now the scale is different. So some of the greatest companies have had some of the greatest obstacles, and guess who's rocking and rolling?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, with the life-changing kind of health challenges that I had and everything that we did, you know, had I not had that kick in the butt, who knows, maybe I would still have my job, which was so stressful, and I was not happy there. And yeah, it was making okay money, but this year we're blowing that out of the water as self-employed people. Both of us. Finally, I just committed and jumped and, you know, cut the cord. So, you know, we will all learn from our challenges, and this too shall pass. So, you know, and go out there. The internet has all the information. And of course, books. I read tons of books as well, but it's all out there. Just listen to some stories. And even when you and I met and we were talking to someone else, unfortunately, I don't remember her name, but where she opened a company cleaning up crime scenes. Oh my gosh.
I know. Yeah, I think you and I both just like paused for a second, like, wow, that's not what I was expecting, but what gutsy that takes to do something of that magnitude.
Yes.
That takes a special kind of special. That's all I can say.
Yeah. And especially with the social media, putting yourself out there, someone can benefit from whatever story you have to tell. You got to stick with it. And just remember, most people are not paying attention. Most people are not paying attention.
So true.
So don't worry about it.
Just don't worry about it. They'll be all right. Yeah. And, you know, it's not always polished out of the gate either. You know, like done is better than perfect. So just do it and try it. And then you'll learn and it'll get better. And then you'll do something else and you'll get better. And before you know it, I mean, that's honestly how this podcast came about. I had never recorded a podcast prior to having this. But the fear of screwing it up or not doing something right, you know, you literally just figure it, everything. Amber in our office today said this about something else. She said, everything is figure outable.
Yes.
And that's, I mean, it's really true. You just got to allow yourself the space and the confidence to know that that is true.
Yes, absolutely.
So as we're starting to come to a close here, I'm sure lots of people are wondering, so how do I create multiple streams of income? How do I create this passive? How do I create this financial abundance in my life? And I know that there's lots of different ways and avenues, and it depends on the industry that you're in, but what are some tips that you have for our listeners?
Well, first and foremost, the one thing that not the first, but a book that really changed my thought process about money and was a game changer for me was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Have you read that?
I have not, but I'm writing it down right now.
Oh my gosh. I mean, in general, Robert Kiyosaki stuff has kind of a real estate bend, but nonetheless, some of his central tenets there are making money while you sleep and having 1% of 100 different people's activities versus 100% of one person's activity. It's just thinking in terms of cash flow instead of a sum of money. Just like you said, I think is so true, is that adding all those constant drip, 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 drip. How is it that in February, it was, I think, maybe the first or second week of January that my husband said, I really want to go to Israel. I need to go home. Okay. February, we went to Israel for 3 weeks. Then again, July, we picked up and went to Israel again for another 3 weeks. And we're going to be doing other vacations throughout this year. How are we able to do that? Because we create cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. And today, there are just so many opportunities. Technology facilitates so much. It facilitates so much. And so a big part of what we do is, of course, real estate, and then also a social media business. Through Facebook, of course, I want to just connect with people and share value and not only learn from others, but share my story so that hopefully that can benefit other people, any big part, little part, whatever it is. But also there is plenty of business to be done via Facebook. There's a reason why there is so much value to that company and why everybody wants to be there. So many businesses are focused on success through Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And it's because there are so many people there. And so jump in and find your system, be open-minded and get out of your comfort zone. Be comfortable with offering your business or service to people. Tell people what you do. Offer it to people. You don't have to just force it down their throat and say, you got to get this. You don't have to do hard sales. But say what you do. Repeat it. Repeat it. Repeat it. Repeat it. Just figure out your process. Trust your process and go. And today there are established systems that you just plug into and you can go. And for me, like with the supplement, I mean, as another just side income stream, I'm a realtor's license that produces income. We buy rental properties that produces income. We do flips that produces income. That's another stream. That's more of a job, but it's another revenue source for us. And then network marketing. If there is a product or service that you love, that you connect with, that adds value to you, those systems are so well set up. Get on the right team, a team that has the right culture for you. You can learn. I've learned so much from my network marketing team. When I tried the health supplement, like I said, that I just loved and I was not expecting to love it, but I just thought, oh my gosh, this is a game changer for me. That was very interesting. And then I knew I have got to embrace social media. Before I jumped in, I was afraid of it. I didn't know, but today I think you cannot call yourself a serious business person and not be leveraging social media. And so that can look different for different people. That doesn't mean you have to be posting every 5 minutes. For some people, that is how they leverage it. But for others, there are plenty of other ways. But if you are in business, you have got to be leveraging social media. And if you want a crash course, you need to join a strong network marketing team. That's an excellent option. They do great work. They are mutually supportive. They're empowering. There are lots of great people there. You will learn a lot. And that's the goal, to learn a lot. And then just decide what your next step is when you get there.
And then say yes.
Say yes. Yes, 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 yes.
That's perfect. I mean, I think my biggest takeaway from you today is that you just have to be willing to do it. It's all about being around people that lift you, that you're willing to take a risk. You have to want it more than you're afraid of it. And I feel like you have really embodied that. And you guys you knew what type of lifestyle that you wanted to create. And that was more important than whatever crap may or may not have come along with it. Mm-hmm. And here you are doing what you set out to do. And what a beautiful thing that actually is.
It really is crazy. Just yesterday, I was talking to my best friend who lives in Ohio, and she was asking, how is Israel? How is everything? And I was telling her, you know, Rachel, like, I'm a planner. At any given time, I have a 5-year plan, always among, you know, that's just me. Because to me, I'm very analytical. Like, I've got to think of what I want to do, set out some steps, and just follow the steps, you know, to take the thinking out. And that's how I get over the fear. I just write it down, and then I just do it without thinking about it, so that you just go, go, go. And then I told her, but, you know, I'm also aware that most plans, you know, they start in one place, and then the life leads you to a totally different place. And that's okay. That's a great thing. But if you just remain committed, believe, keep going, then you will get to wherever you want to go. That, you know, when I share my story, that is what I hope people will take away from it, that whatever it is they want to do, whether it looks like my life or not, that they just really begin to believe for themselves that they can. You've got to believe more than anyone else, because there will be other people that will tell you, no, they can't. I know at one point when I hated being 9 to 5, I mean, that was just never for me. Like, I just think that's not for me. And my mom was like, well, what are you going to do when you get a real job? Because for her, it was all corporate. You know, the only real way to be successful is corporate. And so just believe, and just don't listen to the naysayers. Don't worry about them. You focus on you. You do your thing. Be happy for them and ignore them completely. But anyway, back to Rachel. And I was telling Rachel, like, you know what, Rachel? We had a plan and we're doing it. Like, it's actually happening. I go to sleep, I'm making money. I wake up, I'm making money. I do something, I make money. I don't do something, I'm making money. That's the plan.
And it's here and it's happening. And it's 100% obtainable, and you're living proof that it is.
Yeah. Start small and just add. Just add. Expose yourself to the people that are doing what you want to do. And don't question what they're doing. Don't say, ooh, not this, not that, not this. You don't know. They're doing it. You got to give it a try, and then you can modify to whatever works for you. First things first. Just model other people's behavior. Give it a try. Go from there. You know, and hang out. Like, when I met you at that health summit, I was so happy to have met you, because, like you said, the energy, like this, the relationships with you and me and anyone like us, anyone that has positive energy, supports others, is ambitious, that is awesome. Over the long run, that's just, you know, because I hope through the stories that we share and my energy, it helps you. And then likewise, I mean, you do so much, you serve so many people. And so hearing your story and feeling your strength, like you just have this very unwavering strength. That's so awesome. So, you know, for everyone out there, if you have those friends that you're like, dang, you sure do complain a lot, you don't have to hate them. You don't have to totally cut them from your life, but maybe you should reduce how much time you're spending with them.
That so spoken so well. And thank you. Thank you for that compliment and reassurance. I'm learning how to accept those beautiful types of things. So I accept that, and thank you for seeing that in me and acknowledging it.
I love it.
My last question to you is, what does gutsy mean to you?
Gutsy to me, it means whatever you have in your mind that you think that you want to do, and you're just afraid, and you can see so clearly what you need to do, but you're just afraid, and then you close your eyes and jump. You hold your breath and jump. That's amazing. And we all have that ability. Just close your eyes, hold your breath, take that next step. And that's all you got to do.
Because who knows what's on the other side of it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Kimberly, thank you so much for sharing your enthusiasm and awesomeness with us today. I mean, I want to go back through and listen to this episode myself and jot down even more notes, because I think that there's just so many great takeaways and honestly just simple reminders. We don't have to make things so complicated. Yeah. And we're really able to achieve a lot more than we give ourselves credit for.
Yes. And so another thing I want to add really quick, something that I'm really focused on right now, I'm trying to learn and develop, is just forgiveness and grace for myself. And so for anyone out there that can relate to that as well, is just whatever you're doing, if you make a mistake, if you're, I struggle with consistency. I can always be doing, like I said, with the synergy. That's why synergy is so important to me, because when I struggle with doing one particular activity over and over again, I'm always kind of phasing between all these different things. And so I'm trying to, while improve my discipline and improve my structure, I'm also trying not to allow myself to get too wrapped up in frustration or upsetness. Like that doesn't really serve me. To the extent that it motivates me to kick myself in the butt, fine. But to focus on it and just say, rah, 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 why not this, why not that? That's just ridiculous. It's okay. What you're doing is awesome. You've already achieved so much. Keep on keeping on. You're doing a great job. That's true for all of us. So good job, you.
So true. Good job, you too. Kimberly, where can we find you? How can we connect with you online?
The best place to find me is Facebook, Kimberly Ashkenazi. When I search it, I'm the only one with that name that pops up. Combination, the whole mouthful.
And how do you spell that? Just in case, because I'm sure a lot of people are writing going, wait, what?
Yeah. So the Kimberly is Kimberly. And then the Ashkenazi is phonetic Ashkenazi. Kimberly Ashkenazi. Send me a message there. I'm also on Instagram at KimmyKinsBP, KIMIKINSBP, at KimmyKinsBP.
Ah, perfect. Kimberly, again, thank you so much for sharing your energy with us today. This has been absolutely phenomenal, and I can't wait to see what the world has in store for us.
Likewise. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate it.
You got it. Join me this Thursday as we take our power back by delegation. It's often quicker and easier just to keep doing everything yourself, but as we just talked about, how quickly that can run ourselves into the ground. Until then, follow the Gutsy Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And for more Gutsy insight, follow me personally on Instagram at @LauraLaura. See you next time.